government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome, glad you're with us. All right, so we're going to do part 2 today with Patrick Wood on his book, The Final Betrayal. The Final Betrayal. I was up till pretty late night before last reading it, and we brought you part 1 yesterday. Maybe we could recap real quick. Basically, what we're saying is President Trump is not running the same term he was running the first time. The term 2.0 is very much loaded up with the tech bros, and he seems to be going all in. Then you have, of course, J.D. Vance, who was, according to all the work and research done by Patrick Wood and others, J.D. Vance was set up in the financial world by Peter Thiel and then lobbied President Trump very hard. Sounds like maybe Don Jr., I've read, Peter Thiel, Tucker Carlson, to take J.D. Vance, even though he's on video saying some horrific things about Donald Trump. I mean, just horrific things. And yet he gets on the ticket. And now the premise of the book is the MAGA movement is being betrayed. What is being put in is basically to replace the constitutional republic and give us a CEO, kind of really what Donald Trump is, a CEO who I'm sure gets very frustrated as a CEO. I mean, he's 80 years old, isn't he, or 79? So he's spent the bulk of his life calling the shots, making the decisions. Comes to Washington the first term, and he kind of found out what it's really like. But you could see where a guy like him would be very open to the ideas of these guys, because in his mind's eye, they keep disrupting my plan because they get in the way. It'd be great just to be the CEO, the king, if you will. But we know that there are guys around Trump, like Larry Ellison, who have said they want to open a file on every American. There's been the talk of the RAGE. That's an acronym for getting rid of basically government civil servants so that everything is now done by computers. I think what we're talking about here, folks, is really kind of a China-like system, social credit scores. Then you roll to digital currencies, and then you are in a dystopian society. There will be no freedom. It will be chosen as to what freedoms you're allowed to practice and to what level, what extent. And so Patrick's work and research basically says, look, guys, the MAGA movement is being betrayed. And you can wake up and see it now and try to stop it, or you can find out 5 years from now or less and then say, oh, we got duped, we got taken in, if I'd only known. You know, that's the common phrase that was used by the guys that came out of the POW camps of North Korea. When they came out and the historians, the doctors, the experts, the military professionals, the guys that were experts in brainwashing and psychological operations said to them, this is what they did to you. This is how they were doing it. This is how they were doing it. These were the tactics that they were using to demoralize you, to cause you to stop resisting and to believe the lies, which you were not able to refute because you didn't know the truth. And the common response by those POWs of the Korean War, this is in my documentary, Brainwashed America Part 1 and Part 2. You don't need to buy it. It's in the vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Their common response was, well, if we had only known, if we had only known. And so that's really where we're at now. You can either learn it now, know now, or learn it after the fact when it's too late. Now, before we go to Patrick Wood, I do want to bring something up to you. If you guys go to worldviewreport.com, that's your daily aggregated news site, worldviewreport.com, you might have to use the old Control F, because I put a lot of stories on worldviewreport.com today. A lot. I updated a lot of stories. So you might need to do the old Control F and put in the word creepy, C-R-E-E-P-Y, Control F and the word creepy, and it'll bring you pretty quick to the article that's way on down the page. And here it is. Super creepy. The world ahead of 2026. Economist magazine cover signals war, pestilence, and financial collapse next year. Now, The Economist magazine, I'm pretty sure Patrick Wood can tell us what he knows about that, but this is a magazine that is really kind of run by a lot of the globalists. But the globalists seem to like to tell us what they're going to do, don't they? And I showed this on television last night, and I have to tell you guys about it here today on radio and television, because I did not study it as closely as maybe I should have before I went on the air. And then when I went on the air and I was zooming up on it and looking at it, I thought, oh, wow, look at that. And that is when you have the globe on their cover of the Economist magazine, The World Ahead 2026. It's a globe, and it has a couple tanks, big tanks on the left, the right, military tanks. It's got two swords crossed in the middle. That's Islam, folks. That's the crossed swords you see on the Islamic flags, right in the dead center. Are they trying to tell us they are expecting a terrorist attack or a global terrorist attack? That's kind of ironic, isn't it? Right on the center. And it's the backdrop of the two swords is an economic crash. What are they telling us? And there are syringes, like maybe a new pandemic. There's missiles all over the place. But the one that really caught my attention was the one on the right corner, right top. It would be the left, actually, if you're looking at the screen, top left corner. It is a cargo container ship with the cargo containers all stacked up on top of each other. And out of the side of the cargo containers are being fired missiles. And it gets even more ominous. There's a satellite orbiting the Earth, and you can see the signal going from the satellite down to the cargo containers. Now, folks, in 2018, can I say that date again? 2018 is when I released my documentary, Sabotage. And in that documentary, I had a lot of details and a lot of pictures and a lot of videos detailing the Club K cargo system, the Club K cargo missile launching system. At the time, you could buy them. They were manufactured in Russia for about $10 million. And I showed video footage of one of them on display at some kind of fair or carnival. And with the command from a satellite, the lid can lift up on this cargo container. Think about the cargo container that you see on the back of railroad cars or the back of a semi-truck. And they're stacked on cargo ships. And they can come into the harbor of the, let's say, the Gulf of America. And then they get a satellite command, and the lid lifts up, and up pops anywhere from 2 to 4 silos, of which missiles can then be fired. And they can have nuclear missiles on them, small, compact nuclear missiles. And I go into details on that, being the little beach ball, as they called it, developed by one of the scientists tied to Saddam Hussein, who's now tied back to one of these families who's running some of the according to numerous news reports, running some of the cargo container ports in America. What could possibly go wrong? Apparently, all of this got through when the financial firm or the financial agency inside the Treasury Department was shut down for a period of time. And this got through along with, I guess, the Uranium One deal to Russia. Remember that? FISA, I think was the acronym. And so since 2018, I have warned about the dangers of Club K cargo missiles. And then on the cover of the Economist magazine, The World Ahead 2026, there it is. Make of it what you will, my friends. Make up what you will of it. I have no idea. I just find that awfully fascinating. I mean, it's one thing to have a cargo system, right? It's another thing to have a satellite sending it a signal. Isn't that something? Well, let's go to Patrick Wood about this. Patrick, welcome back. Let's get into your book. But what do you make of what I just shared?
I'm looking at it here on myself on my screen. I blew it up big time so I can see every detail. It's interesting to me, all those pills that are all over this image, it's not in one corner or another, but what's with all the pills? Red and white pills, most of them are, some of them are other colors. They're all scattered all over the picture.
Yeah, I don't know. And it makes you wonder, what are they planning, right?
I know.
CFIUS, that was the acronym of, I don't know what I said a while ago, but CFIUS was the name of that group that was shut down. That's supposed to go through those kind of things to make sure these kind of deals don't go through with these potential deals that compromise national security. But what do you make of the Club K cargo there? Missiles coming off that cargo ship, and it's getting a direct signal from a satellite. Don't you find that kind of intriguing?
Indeed. And you know, the missile is targeted to the cake, of course. 250 years, that would be the United States for sure.
Yeah.
All these things, all these attacks are focused on the United States. That's the way I would read it.
And look at the cross swords, the Islamic cross swords right in the center.
Yep. Yep.
Well, some kind of message is being sent here. That's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
I thought I'd bring that up. Well, let me ask you in that vein, how will a crisis, a terrorist attack, and for television, Logan is showing the B-roll footage from my 2018 documentary where I showed how those Club K cargoes, boxcars can be put on ships, big ships, small ships. And we have no defense system. We don't have an iron dome like Russia. Like Israel. We don't have an iron dome like that. So how could a terrorist attack be used to justify putting a file together on every American, digital ID, biometrics? How could that be exploited? You know the old quote I love to give from 1984 from the book by his name will come to me. It's called The Power to Lead, James McGregor Burns. He said the founding fathers have been too smart for us, too shrewd for us. Frail tinkering in bridges won't get it done. The only way we can get the American people to go where we want them to go is under a stupendous national and economic crisis. Is that what maybe the tech pros are waiting on?
They probably are waiting for something like that, but it may play out differently because apparently at this point, we're going to collapse under our own weight. I don't think anybody necessarily has to send missiles to us to destroy us or, more pandemics, whatever. We're almost ready just to collapse under our own weight. So,
my wife came walking across the studio, so I had to say something to her, and I didn't know if I was unmuted. I'm now unmuted, to the chagrin of many. Anyway, that's where we're going to pick up when we come back. All right, guys, the final betrayal, and really last night was kind of, again, timing is interesting. Did you see who was at the White House with the Saudi prince, who I guess is now going to give $1 trillion to the U.S.? Oh, we'll talk about that. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app.
Now, I know, but I want to know when I'm muted, when I'm not muted.
News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications
so now I'm back to black.
To stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Worldview Radio, website worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. I want to go to page 61 in your book, Final Betrayal, Patrick. Nick Land. Nick Land. I'm gathering he is a British philosopher, as you write, and former academic at the University of Warwick, where he co-founded the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit in 1995. Tell me about him, and how does this Nick Land, how does he come into play with these other guys, the tech bros, Peter Thiels, and et cetera?
A real piece of work in my opinion. I think he's probably taken too much drugs over his lifetime. But he's a philosopher, certified. He has a PhD in philosophy. Curtis Yarvin does not, by the way. You'd call Yarvin armchair philosopher. that could include us as well, I suppose. But Nick Land is a philosophy professor, and he came up with this idea of the dark enlightenment, and that was basically his idea in the first place. So this crossed the pond and got picked up by Curtis Yarvin. So you can almost see them in parallel, where Land is feeding stuff to Yarvin, who's feeding it to Peter Thiel. And so we have to mention him, because he's part of history at this point. And Nick Land is the guy that came up with this concept of accelerationism. That means you take technology and you speed it up, make it break things, and then you pick up the pieces after that. When I was a kid, we had this game called 52 card pickup. You probably played it as well. So, hey, throw them all in the air, and then, good luck picking them up. That's basically their idea with accelerationism. We see all these people, the tech bros in America, have picked up this theory. You see it in Mark Andreessen's works, and out of his mouth as well, accelerationism. We see it even in MAHA, that's Make America Healthy Again, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there's the flip side of that is MABA. That's Make America Biotechnic Accelerant, MABA. Where the derivation of acceleration is in that word, accelerant. It's everywhere today. This was a philosophy that was picked up by, for instance, Mark Zuckerberg, when he wrote, I think it was could have been maybe 2010, 11, something like that. He said, if you're not moving fast enough to break things, you're not moving fast enough.
Wow.
So, it's just like,
so let me stop right there. What they're saying is they're going to deliberately break stuff and then take advantage of the chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Well, in fact, you get to that in your book, if I may. Flip over to page 76 of your book. And by the way, let me just mention real quick before I forget, page 63, you say that this Nick Land filters everything through a Darwinian prism. So he's into Darwinian evolution, right? So obviously he believes in societal evolution as well, that we can't stay stuck. We've got to keep moving and evolving, which of course is why many of them are into the idea of outlawing any resistance to homosexual marriage, right? We can't be stuck with the old primitive ways, they would say, of marriage just being one man and one woman. We've got to have societal evolution going on. So I write about that in several of the books over the years, warning people that these people are into Darwinian evolution, but they want to apply it to society, to law. Society evolves, morals evolve, the law evolves. They believe in spiritual evolution. Of course, your New Agers believe in that. You're going to go be a part of the spirit world. You become a spirit or master guide. Eventually, you can evolve to become a part of the great nothing. That's, from my first book in 1990 on the New Age movement. But you do talk about the fact that, quote, page 76, when employment benefits run out and poverty spreads to the unemployables, that's an interesting from the deplorables to the unemployables. That's kind of an interesting spin there. When the benefits run out to the unemployables, and poverty spreads to them, the government will try to set up a universal basic income scheme, which, by the way, a week or two ago, guys, I said that when these young white American males spend a lot of money going to college, come out with a lot of debt, they can't find a job, they get passed over by people that have a darker skin tone because we have to be involved in equity and diversity, and they may be more qualified, and they can't buy a house. They're struggling. They're back in their parents' basement after spending all that time and energy getting a degree that's not serving them. And now I said, guess what happens? That's a typical communist tactic, is to make sure you grab the children of the middle class. So you have to make them become disenfranchised by or with the capitalist system. Have them turn sour on the capitalist system. If you can't beat them, join them. Now, I think the audience knows I was talking about that like a week or two ago. I said, watch the backlash. It's kids that were considering themselves capitalist say, well, that system clearly is broken. It doesn't work. It's not capitalism, folks, what we've had for a long time, since 1913. So they can't blame it on capitalism, but they don't know this because they don't know history, because, of course, the schools aren't going to tell them that, because that would expose the plan. But they're now saying this week, we're now finding social media posts where young people are now saying, I'm done. I'm ready for universal basic income. I have no choice. I have no choice. So you write about the unemployables. The government will set up UBI. Tax revenues will crater as the labor market shrinks. So the government will have to figure out a way to pay people, not with debt-backed dollars, but in asset-based tokens that will be conjured up, by tokenizing national assets like the 780 million acres of land owned by the federal government. Foreclosures of homes, personal and business bankruptcies will also destroy debt, as the underlying assets are tokenized and transferred into portfolios of the cash-rich investment funds. Remaining mortgages and consumer debt will be turned into assets in return for the underlying property titles. Exactly how this will play out is uncertain, but the odds are rising that a forced nationwide default on mortgaged property could essentially wipe out debt altogether, transferring property ownership to the mortgage holders. This is you'll own nothing and be happy, I guess, by 2030. Their income stream would then be the rent collected from the occupants and not the interest collected. It would be easy to compensate the former owners for their remaining equity share by issuing asset-based cryptocurrency. So the owner's like, well, I'm going to lose this thing. I'll gladly pay rent. But yeah, wow, all the equity I built up, you're going to give it back to me in cryptocurrency that I can go spend. Yay, shopping spree. But then you say on page 77, this lack of vision explains why industry sources suggest thousands of custom bunkers have been commissioned globally, the majority going to wealthy individuals and celebrities. However, the subset explicitly built by tech oligarchs, likely numbers in the dozens based on the receipts and the reported cases and interviews with bunker builders. Well-known figures with survival bunkers include Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, Palmer Luckey, Reid Hoffman, and Steve Huffman. There is a cone of silence around the location and ownership because non-disclosure agreements are required for all construction workers, contractors, suppliers, and maintenance personnel. If this doesn't sound to you like Make America Great, you have a lot of company. That's kind of interesting when we put that in with the 2026 cover of what's ahead from the Economist magazine today. I mean, think about that. These fit together very well. All these tech pros are building bunkers.
Oh, they are. That's very disturbing. And they're talking more openly because journalists are asking them, do you have a bunker? and they'll spill the beans. I have to harken back again to the study that was done by the Marxist publication, The New International, in 1944, where they criticized technocracy for collapsing the labor market. They figured if humanity is removed from the equation, there'd be no reason for Marxism to exist. If you don't have a class to manage, what do you have? Nothing, right? And they picked up on this business of technocracy, how evil it was. This is what they wrote in that day. They talk about when the economic analyst notes the development of this type of chronic unemployment. Howard Scott, that was the founder of Technocracy, records nothing less than, quote, the abolition of human labor. One of the fundamental tenets of technocracy is that labor has become non-essential to society. Go figure. This was almost 100 years ago. They never changed. They've never changed their values because they believed back then, and they still believe today, that labor is non-essential to society. So just wipe it out. We don't care. Go figure. This is on the books. It's in writing. Unfortunately, it was a Marxist that figured this out first.
The Marxists figured it out first. Wow.
They did, because, hey, they were all about manipulating the classes against each other, right? They said, if you wipe humanity out and make humans are not part of the equation, then we can't manage anything. It's like they were out of business.
Is there a chance that the communists and the conservatives could find themselves on the same side fighting the same technocrats?
Oh, yes, indeed. That's an interesting thought. I have not verbalized that, but you did it. I'll say it privately. Anyway.
Wow.
It could be in the future that the Marxist elements in our country, if they ever get the picture that humanity's over, basically, there's no jobs, nobody to manage, nobody to get excited, nobody to kickstart to get in protests and riot and that sort of stuff. What do you have at that point? Well, you don't need communism, you don't need Marxism, you don't need socialism, because there's no assets to spread around anyway. Technocracy just takes over the whole system, like the Borg in the Star Trek movie, and they're going to micromanage everything in society from the top down. There'd be no political system at all, according to Technocracy.
Last night at the White House, the dinner for the prince, who the CIA, I guess from the reports I'm reading, says that the prince, Saudi prince, was involved in overseeing the murder of that Muslim Brotherhood journalist in Turkey when he went to the embassy there to do something for a marriage or a marriage license or whatever he was doing there. So, I mean, he's not a nice guy, right? Not from what I'm reading. But there they all were eating with him last night. Elon Musk, NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, Tim Cook of Apple, Square's Bill Ackman, and more. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System, because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Welcome back. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. And let's see here. I want to go back to that list. Patrick was my guest. He's author of the book, The Final Betrayal. You can get it on Amazon. That list of guys that was at the White House last night eating dinner, obviously Elon Musk, Tim Cook of Apple, Bill Ackman from Square, Elon, I did mention him, NVIDIA's leader. So it was a lot of the tech bros. A lot of the tech bros are eating dinner last night. Patrick? What's your response to that?
Notice that the dress, you can't see it here, but the color of the dress that Melania is wearing, it's a beautiful dress, by the way. It's Saudi green.
Yeah.
Yeah, in honor of MBS, apparently.
Mm. Yeah, you gonna say something?
Well, all these the tech bros, they've been in and out of the White House. Elon Musk, especially. Remember that spat he had with Trump,
right?
When he left earlier this year.
Right.
I said in the beginning, I said, guys, just trust me on this. It's all theater. There's no rift between them. They're just playing. They're playing you and everybody else to get all upset. Here's Elon Musk now dining with the stars. He's just having a great time talking to people, smiling, so happy. He's there.
He's sitting next to Albert Bola of Pfizer. So again,
that's right.
Isn't this interesting? You got the needles all over the world map from the Economist, all the pills. I don't know what they're planning. Did anyone notice what Elon supposedly said last night?
I wish I could read lips.
Well, someone did. Logan, can someone find that? I've lost it, but I think maybe I just found it. That one's behind a paywall. All these newspapers want to charge you. But I think last night a lip reader says what they say Elon said to the guys sitting next to him, which include, I guess, the head of Pfizer. If I read the article correctly, the lip reader said, "Do you think this guy is a terrorist?" Talking, I guess, about the prince. Can anyone find that? I read the article earlier today. Well, of course, I've read about 100 articles this morning, but I thought I had flagged it somewhere. But someone see if that's true. It was awfully early. I was reading that. You do quote on page 133 of your book. Fast forward to 2023, when another Trilateral Commission member stood up at the annual plenary meeting in New Delhi and declared, quote, 3 decades of globalization defined as integrated, free market-based, and deflationary has been replaced by what will be a multi-decade period of globalization defined as fragmented, not free market-based, but industrial policy-based and structurally inflationary. Are you guys listening to me? Structurally inflationary. This is the Trilateral Commission telling you this in 2023. This year, 2023, is year one of this new global order, end quote. So they told us, again, if you follow these guys, they almost always tell you what they're doing. And so when we're saying to people, and I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion, but when we're saying to people, you might want to be diversifying if you can, as much as you can, of whatever percentage you feel comfortable, 10%, 15, 20, 25% of your cash reserves in a hard asset like silver or gold or whatever you can get is a hard asset, a commodity of some kind to withstand the inflationary cycle they're going to deliberately put us in to debase the debt. Right, Patrick? And here they were in 2023, the Trilateral in New Delhi saying that's exactly what we're doing. And it starts this year, 2023.
We can see the inflationary forces, for instance, in Revelation, when with the third horse of the 4 horsemen, where a food of like a quart of wheat or a quart of barley is worth a day's wage.
Mm-hmm.
That's inflation for sure. However, when debt is destroyed, it's deflationary, because that's where wealth disappears. During the deflationary period, the fact that consumer prices will rise at some point, that's not structural inflation like the supply of money, but that's another reason when you consider that just commodities got scarce, for one thing, because they've been destroyed, or the people have control of them. They just gouge you, and they said, "I don't care. You're going to pay whatever I want to charge you." So it's not necessarily structural inflation, but we're headed into deflationary period at this point. It's going to be ugly, just like the Great Depression. Debt, every time debt is erased, it's deflationary.
Yeah,
and you have the wealth behind it is destroyed at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you guys found the article in there, but I found it. Thanks, but no thanks for the help. Here it is on the Daily Mail. But Musk apparently couldn't resist a risque remark to Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. Took a sip from his glass and then asked mischievously, quote, "What is your opinion? Is he a terrorist?" End quote. Well, good for Elon. At least he's asking the right questions. Can you imagine? Bourla appeared stunned by the question, according to the lip reader who analyzed the clip for the Daily Mail. What do you think? Is he a terrorist? Oh, my. All right, let's go back to your book. Let's see here. How do you very interestingly, you go into the Seven Mountain Mandate and the New Apostolic Reformation on page 83. You go into Peter Wagner. Now, you know, and this audience knows that I wrote a book in 2011, warning that the useful idiots in the evangelical so-called world, the pro-family world, were propping up Peter Wagner, Lou Engle, Rick Joyner, these guys that I think they're modern-day prophets and apostles, taking trips to heaven, swimming with Jesus and talking sports. And I have all this on video, by the way, all of it. That they were serving up magic casseroles that never ran out. It just never ran out. They never ran out, says Rick Joyner. And I was warning then in that book in 2011 that these folks are going to infiltrate the evangelical world. They're going to get them to turn against what the Bible teaches is the mission and purpose of the New Testament church, the Great Commission. And they're going to turn into social justice warriors and become obsessed with building the kingdom of God on earth, Reconstructionism, Dominionism. And voila, I was a little shocked. I did not think you were going to go in that direction in your book. How is that movement tied to the tech bros, Patrick?
Isn't that the truth? We have to talk about this in terms of the church itself, because what happened to Charlie Kirk, and we'll never figure out exactly who killed him, but you can see the after effects of it has been a consolidation of all these different religious movements, all of a sudden acting as one, where they're taking elements of the NAR, elements of the Dominionism splinter of Christianity, and also the Reconstruction movement as well. These are wildly different groups, but nevertheless, they have a common purpose now. They all say we have to build a new world order for Christ to return. In other words, Christ's return is predicated on our action to reform the world for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
This is a faulty conclusion for sure.
Yeah, and it gets the church off its main focus, which is evangelism and discipleship, the Great Commission. to building the kingdom. And now, of course, again, I hate to keep saying this, but that's what we do here for what will be 36 years next year, talk about worldviews. And I have been warning this audience over and over, not only about the dangers of dominionism, reconstructionism, but the dangers of replacement theology and the neo-Calvinism of today. Because the neo-Calvinism of today is into this reconstructionism. They're into this dominionism. And so now you correctly write in your book on page 84 that the tech bros, this movement, these are now uniting with the Christian nationalist men who merge Reformed theology with Silicon Valley supremacy. Now, I would only change one thing. I would call it neo-Calvinism, to not confuse my audience with people like Charles Ryrie. And those guys, if they were alive today, they would be screaming like I am. But you take these neo-Calvinists and you merge them with Silicon Valley, and you write that the particular concern is the communion of Reformed evangelical churches, founded by Doug Wilson. They advocate positions that would shock most Christians. Repealing the 19th Amendment to end women's suffrage, meaning women can't vote. Implementing public flogging for certain crimes, and establishing biblical law as the legal foundation for American governance. And by that, folks, they mean going back to Old Testament law, okay? Old Testament. What was for Israel? You're going to start stoning rebellious teenagers, stoning homosexuals. These people are scary. They are, in my opinion, the Christian Taliban. And I'll tell you something, maybe some of these communists may wake up and say, maybe some of the people over at Right Wing Watch, which is really interesting, because some of the folks over at Right Wing Watch, and I think that was started by the guy that was behind the sitcom like All in the Family and those. What was his name again? The guy behind All in the Family. It'll come to me. Very liberal guy. Someone look up the producer behind All in the Family from the 70s. He produced a lot of sitcoms, made a lot of money, and apparently he helped start People for the American Way. Too many names in my brain, but they'll tell me, or I'll have to find it myself here in 2 seconds. But Norman Lear, thank you. Norman Lear. Okay? Now, what's interesting is People for the American Way used to attack me. And then the more I started exposing the New Apostolic Reformation and these theological Christian, quote, Christian Taliban, then they started saying right-wing conservative Christian talk show host Brandon House is pointing out how crazy these people are. Right-wing Christian talk show host Brandon House says this about them, about that about them. And I'm thinking, you know what? The day may come when some of these non-Christians call me up and say, look, I'm nowhere near where you are in what you believe, but at least you know that I'm not to be hunted down like a dog. And they'll be knocking on my door, looking for me to help them because they realize I get it, but they're going to also say, we're coming to you because we know you won't turn us away because we know you're a real Christian and you're obligated to protect us. Now, I know that happened to anti-communists in communist countries when communism fell and the pitchforks came out. We'll be right back. Go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone like I have, because you know what? China is in on our power grid. That is a matter of proven fact. If you want to have communications with your loved ones, your family, your children, maybe your spouse travels, maybe you have a child away at college, you want communication should the grid go down. That's why you need a satellite phone, worldviewtalk.com. But look what else they have. They also have solar generators. I have one of their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, a solar generator. So I can, of course, charge my satellite phone. I can run my coffee pot. I can run my whole house if I want to. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, or use that number, 1-866-738-3224. They have very friendly operators that will explain to you their products, but you can explain to them what it is you're desiring to acquire. How much electricity are you wanting to generate with this solar generator? Well, they'll tell you what size you need. Worldviewtalk.com or 866-738-3224. All right, welcome back. The Final Betrayal by Patrick Wood, available on Amazon. You say Ken Clement was a New Apostolic Reformation prophet whom NAR followers attribute to divine conduit to predict the election of Donald Trump in 2016 and even the terrorist attacks of 9/11, among others. Clement gave another prophecy, quote prophecy, in 2011 that's strongly resonating with New Apostolic Reformation followers today. He spoke of a woman who would rise up in the image of Esther during a time of national crisis, bring healing and restoration to the nation. The NAR community believes this prophecy is currently being fulfilled by Erica Kirk, who has taken over Turning Point USA from her late husband, Charlie. As a Catholic, Erica Kirk is not formally a member of NAR, but is nevertheless being hailed for her supporting role. Since Kirk's assassination, multiple sources have confirmed an extraordinary surge in applications to start new Turning Point chapters on high school and college campuses. Before the assassination, there was about 900 high school and 1,200 college chapters. By September 2025, Fox News blasted the headline, "This is the turning point." TPA USA says campus chapter requests surged to 120,000 after Kirk's assassination. All the above has caused a massive shift in the eschatological view of the evangelical church. Now Christians are waiting for the Christian reformation of the world in order for Christ to establish his rule on earth. Some are already calling for outright theocracy. The traditional pre-tribulational view of Christ's return is now replaced with a post-tribulational view, or even an all-mill view, meaning there's no 1,000-year kingdom at all. In addition, the role of Israel in God's plan is replaced with the New Testament church. That's replacement theology. That's your neo-Calvinist, resulting in anti-Semitic rhetoric, chastising the Jews for having lost their age-old promises from God in the first place. In short, this means that there is a seismic change taking place in the Christian church. Some say this portends a massive revival in America. Others see a head fake of epic proportions leading the church into massive apostasy, end quote. Page 85 of Patrick's book, The Betrayal. Patrick, so well done. Isn't this something? The turning on the Jews and the right-wing religious groups, replacement theology, dominion theology. It's a false dominant church that's going to usher in the whole beast system of the tech bros, I think.
Exactly. This was an intentional design by Peter Thiel in the first place to create a three-legged stool. You have to have religion, politics, and economics lining up with each other. I think this was intentional. However, look at this statistic. I want people to understand just how prevalent this is. 30% of the evangelical church in this is March 2023. Believed in the 7 mountain mandate. 30%. Okay, you said no big deal. You say, well, in 23, that was the state of the church. In January 24. That had risen to 55%. That's a huge jump, right?
Yes.
Now that Charlie Kirk was murdered, imagine, I don't have the stat on it, but imagine just how many people now are thinking, oh, yes, it's the 7 mountain mandate and all the stuff that goes on with it we're discussing here. I bet right now, this is just my idea, probably 75% of the evangelical church believes in the 7 mountain mandates at this point. That's huge. This is not just a trend. This is a wholesale sellout of the church.
And then you add in interfaith dialogue.
Yes.
That was normalized by James White, Yasser Qadi, and all the neo-Calvinists that defended him doing that. And you can see every weak, well, not every, but a lot of the weak points, or what are a lot of key positions of the Bible-based evangelical churches of America that have to be brought down for this agenda to succeed, include interfaith dialogue, ecumenicalism, the promotion now of social justice and dominion theology instead of the Great Commission. You can see the things that Satan needs to remove from the evangelical church to bring in the New World Order and create a false dominant church of Revelation 17:1, the harlot that sits on many waters, that lays the foundation for what is coming next in the scene by John when the Spirit carries him away into the wilderness and he sees a woman, Babylon, riding a scarlet beast. The 10 system and the 10 world system experts and rulers of Antichrist and the whole system, the beast system. You can see it. You got to have that false dominant church. And isn't it something that many of the pro-family leaders and so-called Bible preachers have led the way because they refused to go against the good old boy club of interfaith dialogue when their friends went outside the lines, or because they wanted the big money and the names and mailing addresses and emails of all the New Apostolic Reformation folks who believed in this cause because they could fight the culture war together. But it's not about that, I don't think. I think it's about money. They saw a way to just add more donors to they always sell out for money, most of them. That's what it ends up being. But you can just see this false dominant church, and the pressure points are key to what makes the church the church. Patrick?
Yes, exactly. And it's not just believing in the seven mountain mandate per se, but your eschatology changes as a result of that. I underscore this in my book. When you abandon your pre-trib position and you set up a system then to create or recreate whatever the kingdom of God on earth, that changes everything for a Christian. It completely obliterates their faith at that point. It
obliterates the Great Commission.
That too, exactly. There's no point to do that at this point.
And then you add that to the neo-Calvinists who say God created billions of people so he could destroy them because he takes great pleasure in that. So why would you waste your time evangelizing people? You're probably talking to people that are condemned to hell anyway, so why waste your time? Plus, anyway, what's it matter what you say? They have to be regenerated before they can get saved. And so I have no idea how to get them regenerated. I can share the gospel with them, but they got to be regenerated before they get saved. So now you put another layer, and pretty soon you see a false church that has a false gospel, works-based, and has been completely neutered for evangelism, and then also has now become haters of the Jews. Boy, that is a satanic tool.
It really is. Yeah.
Get a copy, The Final Betrayal, Patrick Wood at Amazon. Wow. Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for being with us for 2 days, folks. And
my pleasure.
Stay tuned for Crosstalk. Jim Schneider on America's original Christian talk program, over 100 outlets at vcy.org. Take care. And we're back with WROS and you here on Worldview Tube. Logan, someone says that the network's not working properly today. Are we having issues? Okay, it's been working for everybody else. All right. Let's see. Did I read about mushrooms or psychedelics in this book somewhere? Did psychedelics come up at all?
I don't think so. Maybe. Probably we made a comment of Yarvin, maybe Nick Land. They're both... they say they've used psychedelic.
Well, then you must have written about it, because I don't know why else I would have thought that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to go back through the book and figure out where it is you wrote that.
It was not a major comment.
No, it was just a comment. I think it was just mentioned.
Yeah.
So you do know that one of them has been into psychedelics.
Oh yeah.
They talk about that openly?
Actually, they do, and it's like. Well, that doesn't mean they're taking it right now. But Nick Land has been famous for his, famous, whatever, nobody's going to brag about it, but he believes that psychedelics have opened his mind to see a lot of stuff that he never would have seen.
Yeah, I'm sure I marked it, because when I read that, I thought, because I believe the reason I'm bringing it up is that the New Agers openly admit the most popular way to meet a spirit or master guide is through an altered state of consciousness, which can happen through drugs, mushrooms, psychedelics, transcendental meditation, yoga. And I'm starting to wonder how many of these people are communing with demons. I have no proof any of them are, but I have to start wondering at what point are some of them under that kind of control?
Well, if you consider that the church overall has been so affected by the overarching demonic plan for the world, especially for Israel and the church and all the other stuff that we're talking about here, you have to make the assumption somebody is communicating with this spiritual force. It makes perfect sense, in my opinion. That doesn't say who exactly, but somebody is picking up these ideas from the demonic realm, and they're exercising it on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't say who, but you know that somebody is. Now some of the people in history, like Madame Blavatsky, I can't get a name out.
Madame Blavatsky.
Thank you very much. She says, well, I'm in touch with my spirit guide, and he's giving me all these books to write, automatic writing. She was in touch with spiritual forces as well.
So was the mother of the New Age movement
yes.
that I write about, who started Lucis Trust.
Exactly.
Which was originally Lucifer Publishing.
Yes.
I mean, that's I'm not making that up. That's a matter of documentation from their own website, right?
Yes.
And she was greatly influenced by Madame Blavatsky.
Yeah. Bailey.
Alice Bailey. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alice Bailey. I wonder at what level these guys think at some point they're talking to AI, but they're not, right?
A lot of people are thinking that. A lot of people are getting the idea now. My chapter, my mention of AI God at this point is very disturbing. A lot of people
tell us about that. Tell us about the AI God chapter in the final 2 minutes.
Well, people in the AI community are figuring, well, if this AI is going to be omniscient, knows everything, and it's going to be omnipresent, it's present everywhere, and it has these increasing qualities of God, let's just call it God. It's going to be God, and it'll answer all of our problems and answer all of our questions we have about eternity or whatever. And people are really setting up this concept of AI God. There's actually a church right now, the Church of AI. There's a thread of AI worship of robots, robotheism, and it's kind of crazy. You look at these pictures, you can't believe how crazy it is. It's not a cartoon. They really believe that robotheism can save the world.
Yeah, the deception. And I think there's a case to be made that there is an image of the Antichrist set up in the home of all those who follow him. Closing comment?
Probably so.
They worship the image of the beast. Well,
Yes.
if you're not in the temple to do it, how else would you do it? You set one up, a shrine in your own home. Maybe
Yes,
you
indeed.
get it on a computer. Maybe you get it in a hologram that you can cause. I mean, the technology by then will be so incredible, probably, right? Technocracy.news, technocracy.news. Great 2 days. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, guys. And thank you
My
for your
pleasure.
support, folks. Where else are you going to get stuff like this? We need your support to stay on the air. Worldviewfoundation.com. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation, having